Okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another GoDaddy Pro EMEA Meetup. Today is a very special day for you. For us, it's 18th of October, and we're hosting Stefan Karamancic. How are you, Stefan?
Quite well, thank you. How are you guys?
Awesome, awesome. Just it's very interesting. I slacked you today at some point, but even before I slacked you, I learned about you at the announcement of Page Builder today that you're going to have a great webinar tonight, right?
Yes, it's actually right after this webinar, so you can hop right in. It's gonna be quite interesting. It's gonna be an overlap, so I decided I'll make this one a little bit different so that you don't have to listen to me talk about the same things 2 times.
Exactly. Today we wanted actually to talk about the application of GoDaddy Pro tools
Mm-hmm.
as a part of business scaling, right? So, I mean, the whole economy in general. Okay, what are your thoughts about economy? When we talk about economy and then online stores, how do you relate to this?
Uh, it the the real issue with that is scaling correctly. In a way, for businesses, is the way to scale from, let's say, more local mortar and brick store to an online business, or from a local online business to a wider area online business. It's not maybe as seen as a good idea, especially now in this situation, to due to say transport issues. However, if you remain constrained in a single area, it limits your possibilities much less. So you always have to be, say, on a hunt to find better opportunities, to get better business deals, and to uh, oh, get a better business going for you.
How do you see a WordPress developer or a designer of future? I mean, what other new skills he will have to learn, or perhaps where do you think that position would actually elevate to or develop?
Well, the most important part will be the contact with people and learning um, how to basically transfer that information from your client or potential client into a successful website. To give you an interesting story I recently experienced, my cousin, uncle, essentially, has a restaurant business. And for the first time ever, he decided to create a website. He only uses a phone, essentially, has no computer, and decided to come to me with an idea. Hey, I want to create a website. I know nothing about it. Can you help me out? And since I have too much free time on my hands, I said, yeah, sure. And that started quite a saga. The first one was okay, how to go with the branding, what would be the correct domain name, and then you run into mm, plenty of questions you have to answer. You basically go with the traditional, recognizable top level domain names such as org, com, net, or to perhaps go with a local country code or with something completely different. For example, .blog, .dev, .io, any of that. That's We're not even at the website, and we already have uh, quite a bit of decision making that has to go through. Then you have to decide on how you're gonna plan your domain name and what the address of the website will be. You might come up with, oh yeah, that's simple. We'll just record that uh, domain name and name it. But what if the business name is too long? And what if its domain name is taken? What if it for any reason, but if for SEO reason, for example, it's not good to use that for on a multi-language level. That's also the part that's not something you commonly run into, perhaps, but something you have to keep in mind when you're dealing with your client. Perhaps they do not know, for example, what is a domain name? Can you make a combination of subdomain, domain name.com, or something like that? What would be a better choice to pick? It's something that uh, web designer, developer will have to uh, transfer to their client or and to based on the information they gain from that. And after all of that, you get into the part where you have to create a website. And then there, you also run into some questions. What kind of a hosting plan you offer? What will be the central theme? What will be the color palette? What functionality does the website have to use? Will there be an e-commerce? Will there be any social media integrations? All those things come with some trade-offs between them. For example, adding a lot of functionality can, for example, slow down a website. Being too vague and laconic, and you can ask yourself the question, all right, how is that different from a static HTML page? Would a static HTML page be a case better choice in that case? So you have to find a right balance to present your client. And even after you've done that, then comes the proposition of adding content, getting the correct media, reviewing all of that, making sure everything plays well correctly. And then comes the big moment of actually publishing the website. And and but that you're not done.
Yes, but that's just the beginning, right? I mean, that's like calling one phase being finished, but then there's a new, totally new phase, which is called upgrades, management, maintenance,
Yes,
development.
yes. As the IT especially is a fast evolving area, uh, changes are coming quite often. For example, new PHP versions are published, new WordPress versions are released, new plugins are released, new vulnerabilities are found, new themes are published. All of that is something that someone with website, well, with a well-functioning website, has to stay on top of so that they can have a good performance, good ranking, and everything. And the trouble with that is that all of that is quite disjointed. Uh, for example, there are a lot of services that offer ability to see to track security or to uh, keep you informed of any aspect. However, what can happen in that case is that you get into a position where you jump from one point to another, to another, to another, to another, in order to complete a task. And then, for example, you create a change somewhere, and then you have to go from one place to another, to another, to another, to see if everything works well. And that can cause a lot of time wasting. And
Especially if you have many websites, right? So
yes, that's when the real fun begins. And
exactly. Do you know by any chance, like how much a regular, how many hours actually a person invests in maintaining a, let's say, medium-sized store, or let's say WooCommerce? I mean, is that like hundreds of hours a month that you have to spend there checking everything, or is there a way how you can do it like faster?
uh, you can always set it and forget it, but then you run into some quite obvious risks. I wouldn't actually recommend that. But especially for e-commerce websites, there are additional complications you have to take into account since you're dealing with much more than just, okay, I'm having a presentation. It's actually now quite the active part of your business. It's adding revenue. You need to follow payment processing, for example. You need to stay on top of security and all that. And it can take quite a lot of time, especially once you attract additional people into your as your clients. Because what you had to do for one website, now you have to do for 5, for 10, even more. And that's where a lot of people run into a challenge of how to maintain their quality of service while also not losing their mind and their sleep over all the work they have to do. And that's where essentially pro sites falls into play. Sorry, well, that's where pro sites falls into place. It was essentially designed as a piece of software, as a dashboard that combines plenty of tools into one place and lets you monitor various aspects of your websites from a single dashboard.
Ask you something before you move to talk maybe perhaps about this dashboard, but it's like is this for agencies or like or it's for freelancers or side hustlers? I mean, who can use it? Who can benefit from it? From
I'm going to channel my inner salesman, who's really bad, and say essentially that's for everyone. The same way WordPress is for everyone and everyone can run a website. Uh, Pro Sites is essentially can be used with anyone that manages even one website, from agencies to individuals. We had plenty of clients of all essentially of all colors and sizes.
I think it's awesome because I use it for my blog, for instance, and I'm not a what do you call it? I'm not advanced in websites in maintenance business, but it's very easy for me because I'm using a couple of tricks how to keep my website floating instead of crashing it. Just the other week we had a talk on how to crash a website, and I think I checked all the scores. So basically, it helps me. I'll tell you as a non-technical from this point of view expert. I think it's very useful to me because it saves my mind, and I'm sure what is going to happen after because I see with the visual comparison actually the
Mhm.
change before and after. So for me, that's like that's amazing. In and plus the backups, because I'm not a professional. I mean, I have this blog, so I don't know where I can keep all this stuff. But if I can access my backup from somewhere, then that's amazing.
Mhm.
That's great. So I find it as a not very tech and savvy when it comes to building of web pages and websites, more of a marketing level, but it's really helpful. I don't know. I mean, if anyone else has the experience or better experience, and I'm ecstatic already. If you guys have anything to add to this, that would be awesome. Like, how do you use GoDaddy Pro Sites? And how about you, Stefan? What is your favorite like feature that you use? Mine is safe updates. I don't know about you.
Uh, what's my favorite feature? Oh, there really are a lot of them. Uh, for example, uh, you know how sometimes next to a plugin update you get a yellow triangle, like a
Hmm.
warning? Well, that means that there's a known vulnerability in that plugin or a theme, and that an update fixes it. That's something that's really, I think, really minute and really helpful because at a glance you can see, okay, something's not wrong. and it will tell you right away what is it, that how it's fixable, and it will also keep you informed. For example, if some plugin has, I don't know, constantly runs into issues, maybe it's time to uh, review how you use that plugin. Maybe there are some safer alternatives. Another thing that I also really like is that there is the left sidebar that you have where you have a bunch of filters with tags. What basically that allows you to do is to tailor your website use. Uh, what do I mean by that? Say that you want to perform updates on, I know, website that you want to install a plugin. That's a better example on all websites of your client. Well, you could go and manually do it on each individual, say, website, and that would take a lot of time. However, what you can do is basically go to all your websites, uh, check the box next to your client's name, and it will display only the websites of that client. Then you
Could
select.
you show us that? Is that something that you're able to? I mean, instead of us like now explaining descriptively the pages, frames, and targets,
Let me just try to
can
log.
you do that for us? I mean, I'm sure. I mean, it's nowadays market is kind of like shrinking and expanding at the same time. I cannot even explain the current economy, how I feel it, the beat of the economy. But it's very, I think that this tool is very helpful because it really enables you to do more business and job, WordPress related business, but then, save time and maybe commit it to learning or perhaps finding new customers or, I don't know, writing content for your blog or stuff like that. So for me, I think it really gives an opportunity for a solopreneur or somebody who's just starting to really flourish.
Uh, it's a real time saver in that aspect that you don't have to worry about the technical things. As you mentioned, it's essentially similar to the difference between or running your own hosting and having someone else host your website. It's something like a word.
We have a question from Jose. Hi, Jose. Nice to see you again. Long time. Jose says, how can you make money with a blog? This is off topic of tonight's talk. We're talking about business development tools for WordPress developers and designers. But this is also a very good question, Jose. Okay, Stefan, the first thing on your mind, what do you think how you can make money with a blog?
Uh, you have to attract your audience. For example, a couple of interesting blogs that I know, for example, is The Oatmeal, that he started an online comic and developed a business from there because people loved him. There's the uh, another interesting blog post, another interesting blog website. Now I know that basically sends you a small snippet on a daily level, but also neat, niche, and a lot of people actually quite enjoy it. The important thing when creating a website is to find something that you're good at, uh, work on it, and you'll attract an audience. A good website is there to make those conversions a lot easier and to help them and to maintain a good communication with your clients.
Let's go deeper in this topic. For instance, let's say, what is your reaction? I mean, when you open someone else's website, what is the what are the tips and tricks you look at in order to understand whether this site has a credibility or not? So how do you determine the credibility of a site that you've just seen right now? Let's say it's some blog.
Uh, well, this might be a bit strange one, but I don't really like pop-ups. They can be, uh, I don't know, quite annoying. What one thing that started started to really stand out to me is the mobile experience. When you're using a website on a desktop or on a laptop, you have much more screen space, and you and how the website behaves on a mobile phone, how much you can read, how fast it loads, uh, can oftentimes lead to uh, be a deciding factor whether I visit and remain on that website or go and find an alternative.
That's awesome. So I'm just now thinking myself what actually determines this credibility and trust, because there's so many blogs nowadays. I mean, whatever topic you press, I'm sure if you press a shirt now, I'm sure that billions of pages will come out with
Uh,
those tags. But yeah,
yes, it's actually one of the reasons why Google started to essentially rate website experience over raw technical performance. Before, say, in previous years of the internet, it was important to see, okay, your images are loading really fast. Now, with more common websites usage over phones, they're looking to see, all right, well, when you load a page, we don't want elements to shift around a lot, or we want to have a consistent experience throughout the whole website. I don't know whether that translates a lot in Google ranking, but perhaps maybe someone from Google could confirm that. But I guess everybody would like to know that.
yes. Is it? Are there any like special tools or plugins for blogs? I'm sure there are.
Mm, in what way? Special tools for plugins.
I don't know. Maybe that does a number of things on behalf of you and gives you plenty of time to work on something else where your blog makes money.
Well, um, in case of maintenance and monitoring, you have GoDaddy Pro. Uh, but I don't know. I don't really publish a lot of blogs
Hmm.
anymore, so I've been quite out of the game. But perhaps I am working on my personal website, more of an experiment. So I might restart it. If I find any interesting information, I'll let you know.
How do you modern? I'm just now thinking maybe Jose can give us also his experience. Do you, I mean, if you have a blog, let's say, I mean, is that connected to, okay, he's saying something now. The reason of my question to this topic, I'm interested in doing the GoDaddy reseller with blogs, but it take me much time to have in working it or correctly or focus on the blog and engage with the audience. All right. Well, I'm just, yes, Stefan, would you have a comment on this?
Well, one of the first things I would go with is to see who your audience is. Sort of discover who would be your ideal audience. What would be what would be something that would separate you from others, and based on that, you could then have a clearer picture on what you want to focus on without going through. I believe you're more in marketing, so you can correct me. I believe there's a term GTCM, goal target channel metric. If I believe, that's one of the tools that can be used, or an approach that can be used to determine how to uh, find and develop a business. The goals would be something that would be your what you want to achieve. Target would be your target audience. Channel would be how you want to approach that audience, and message would be what message you want to convey to them and to attract them to your website.
Yeah, and it also in regard to this, I mean, just the website is not enough nowadays. I mean, I think the newsletters are also very important. This communication is part of communication with blogs. So I think that the communication should not be only via the website, but it should be enhanced through other means and actually trying to see where the customer likes to go instead of bringing him constantly somewhere where he might just join, you know. So
There is an interesting trend in that
mm,
area that you mentioned. Before, newsletters were quite active, but then they a bit fell off the grid a bit from social media. But as social media gained more and more leverage, say, and more influence, they started to change their terms. So we're now seeing a lot more people actually returning to newsletters because they offer much more control and don't rely on third-party platforms such as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook that much. There's also the aspect that, uh, is, well, this is more related to Twitter and for the US market. But for example, uh, I believe that in the US, most of the posts, most of the content on Twitter is made by 2-3% of people. So engagement rates on social media are not as how to say it are not are no longer as productive as they might have been before.
interesting. Oh, this is. I wish Jose is here now with us. I mean, maybe Jose even wants to join us on the screen. Jose, let me know if he'd like to join us on the screen because I think it's a very interesting topic. You know, because nowadays that's one of the actually finance streams at the moment. Sure. Okay. So let's bring Jose. Let's understand who Jose is. Oh, what a lovely thing. Presenter mode's on. So, Jose, now you will be able to join with camera and mic. Here it is. Amazing. If you can just unmute yourself or camera is would be nice, but
Mute, start video. Yeah, there we go.
okay.
Yeah, hi, how are you? It's kind of similar to Zoom, right? So thank you very much for giving me a little time. Yeah, I've been a GoDaddy fan and I've been hosting a lot. I'm not a developer, as you can see, but I know enough to be dangerous. Like using the WordPress, doing the site, doing the domains. And something that I've noticed, are all those myths between, hey, you're gonna make yourself millionaire with affiliates and everything, to the reality of life. And something that I notice is, like you mentioned, you spend a lot of time tweaking the website, following your audience, and also you have another time when you're starting developing the articles. Like, I'm a financial guy, I know how to trade the markets, and my goal really is to help people simplify that process. If you talk to a financial advisor, he'll drive you away telling you how complex it is, but you got to give him his money. In my case, I want people to learn how to do it, or at least if you're going to give it to one of these guys, question them. Hey, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be buying in this scenario and that. I think IT or our area here is kind of similar. Like, there is a gap sometimes between having the site tweaked and saving a lot of time in getting it up and running very well, versus making it productive, like really producing the money. And that's why I was asking that question.
Thank you very much for joining us. I have a question for you. Are you
Sure.
maintaining your own website?
Yes, I do maintain my own website. And yes, absolutely.
Tell us
I
the pains. Tell us the pains.
I did tried also doing, the GoDaddy platform for WordPress. Then I was having problem with some of the plugins, and I tried to do the one that you're gonna be doing now, about the doing your own page builder.
Ah,
Because, for instance, what I like about page builder is that you just really have to put the content, which is what a lot of people are more familiarized with. But I want to know the pros and cons of doing that versus going through WordPress and doing the whole maintaining of the site on your own.
Mhm.
Stefan, what's your advice?
Uh, well, it's the the width compared to the depth sort of situation. Uh, Page builders are quite convenient. However, they do have limitations due to that. They do some things and they do them quite well. However, when you try to go outside of that scope, it becomes quite difficult to do so. Uh, WordPress is mainly built on modularity and flexibility in mind. It can do things that page builders do just as well. It
Mhm.
will require some time and knowledge investment to get to that
Exactly.
level, of course. However, if you then decide, all right, I want to change that or to add some additional functionality, that's much easier to achieve with WordPress than it is with page builders. WordPress started primarily as a blog publishing platform.
Uh-huh.
Actually, uh, before people were having a really hard time to basically write things on the internet, and now it's one of really stable and productive e-commerce platform as well. So
Correct.
that growth that happened over time as the market demand rose for that uh, just comes to show how flexible it is. There are some things where you shouldn't use WordPress, of course. However, that's the thing with every tool. Not every tool is a hammer.
What I do like about WordPress, in a way, like you're saying, it's a little complex for someone like me that who's starting, and sometimes have the budget to hire an IT guy, and sometimes you don't. Than compare, like, for instance, I think it's a ground where your client can ask you questions and go through it and take it, and you as a developer can develop it as much as you would be able to do. So I think it's like a middle ground between the developers and the user, or the client. That's why
Mhm.
I do like the WordPress. Yes, it is.
And
But
hear that.
it is time consuming, as you're mentioning. And also the other factor is, either I focus on writing the articles or doing the good stuff, or saving time maintaining all those areas of the
Mhm.
of the website.
Indeed. The good thing with websites in general is that through that initial setup phase, you only go very rarely. You
Mhm.
have to go through it initially when you try to set up a website, and then perhaps if you want to redesign it somewhere along the road.
Okay.
In but with proper tools, you can have a lot of free time to basically
also
focus
also
on.
Also, I was looking that you mentioned some of the websites. I hope you can put them on the messenger, because I think that helps us a lot. When you put examples like successful WordPress sites that you would recommend, how they're developed and how they're efficient, as you mentioned, or certain. The example is a killer. Like, for instance, I'm trying to go back into the GoDaddy reseller, and something I've been asking. Okay, could you give us example of successful ones? And I think that would really, like, like the Japanese culture does it, imitate, observe, imitate, and then improve, right? So that's the arena that I'm currently trying to
Mhm.
put myself into.
Uh, the websites that I mentioned weren't exactly specific WordPress. Maybe their blogs are. I mentioned them as successful blogs. Maybe I misunderstood the question. They are quite famous over the internet as successful blog
Yeah,
accounts.
yes, like for example, there's one called Let's Eat Grandma. I don't know if you ever heard of that site. It's a guy who builds resumes. If you look at the site, it's so well done that you wouldn't believe it's WordPress. The guy is a business that's doing, you know, articles on how people helping people find jobs. It's very simple. It's got like five or six just plugins, and if
Mhm.
only until you go under the hood and find a way to do it, you figure out he's only using six plugins, and it's a $1 million business. It's a very successful, and I think it's a lot of what you're talking about: saving time, the way it works, and the content the site has.
Yes.
Because uh-huh,
It's the way they say with perfection. It's not when you have to add something, it's when there's nothing else to remove from it.
ex-
That's right. That's uh, that's also
uh-huh,
uh, approachable with websites. That's
mhm,
why having a strong focus is quite important, and that's what the market will recognize. As someone from finance backgrounds, uh, sure you know that market is always trying to be as efficient as possible,
mhm,
and it's similar to people when they find a good website with interesting topics that they like. It's going to catch their attention, and once it catches their attention, it sticks in their mind, and then that spreads like wildfire.
no, thank you very much.
Jose, so what do you think now? Do you have now more information to continue with?
I do. I'm interested in pursuing a lot of the recommendations that you guys mentioned, and but it is challenging to get the time to do it and the time to do the content. It's like it's like there are certain businesses that have the advantages of have someone doing the under the hood thing versus the guy doing the content.
Correct.
But something that I've noticed is that sometimes the left hand doesn't talk well to the right hand because you want the content to display in a certain way, and the IT guy, he understands very well how the
How to
website,
translate.
yeah, the plugins, the security, and everything, but the way a user might work it, that's also the challenging part, of course.
That's awesome. Are you using GoDaddy Pro Sites or GoDaddy Hub to manage your website?
I started using it, but it became a little complicated. So for me, it was easier to put the hosting somewhere else and then use the domains only with GoDaddy. But I'm trying to go back to it. What I really saw is that GoDaddy is very successful with a lot of people and a lot of things, and I think the only part I'm lacking with GoDaddy is getting help on where did I fail and what do I need to do to go back into the GoDaddy environment, because a lot of people, I understand, people sometimes complain and say, you know what, GoDaddy is more expensive than this. Yeah, but the way it works, like for me, the domains, the way you handle the domain, the way it works, I would gladly pay the out price versus figure out the mess that someone else has. You got
Yes.
customer service is amazing, and 24 hours. I would like T-Mobile to be like that.
So you
So
basically need business development, right? You need somebody just to tell you what you need to do about your business in order to be
yes,
successful.
but
Yeah.
more like in the development part, someone that would give me, okay, what are you doing? Like the site I sent you. Okay, maybe there's a different side of something else that's very successful with the affiliate, with the plugins, with the way it's working with GoDaddy, that I could emulate it in a different industry, but learn from the success and keep doing it. A lot of people may see it as trying to steal somebody's idea, and that's not exactly what I mean. I mean exactly just where people are struggling to make it successful, and save time to make a better website, and like GoDaddy does a little bit with the customer service, but on their site, and maybe it's not like hiring a IT guy, but just the suggestions of moving this, moving that, and time consuming. That's why I find these seminars you guys do very useful, because it's like kind of hitting the point a little on what we need to work on.
Yes, we're trying to give some business sense to all the
Uh-huh.
technology behind, there is so much talk about technology. Okay, that's awesome. But how do we actually put this to work, and make money, So this is why we are always having some tools and presentations. If you'd like to present your case, I mean, if you'd like to come one day and tell us your story, and then we bring group of experts, and
Yeah,
then
right.
you speak to them, and then we see maybe we can do something like that as well. But
Absolutely.
I also believe we introduced sort of like website templates when you initially sort of install a WordPress website. I don't know if you. Uh,
Yes, you hit the point. Like having some themes or plugins or sites like GoDaddy approved. That it has the standards of quality that a good website or a GoDaddy website would need. That's exactly, I think, where I want to head to. Uh-huh.
mhm. We do have something like that, much more, say, closely packed in our e-commerce
Hmm.
managed WordPress plan. They essentially come with a bunch of plugins that will help you make e-commerce much easier
Okay.
for regular WordPress websites that may not focus on, say, e-commerce that much. We do have a sort of a starting template when you initially install it that will
Okay.
give you some initial hints of, say, what kind of website would you like and stuff, and get you to, say, a basic setup.
Hmm. Okay.
But I
No, I
do.
would love to hear from those templates in the e-commerce one too, because
Mm,
yeah, I think a lot of the content can be sold, and it's, I think, where the real money is more than the affiliate. Like some people think like, okay, the content is, and I try the affiliate, and that's why I was asking the question about the money.
mhm,
Because I notice that part, it's getting and it's not getting where we would like to be.
mhm. Well, if you do have any business ideas and you developed a way to sell them, the e-commerce is essentially quite easy from the technical side, not from the appearance side,
Okay.
to allow you to set everything up. For example, from creating, either if it's a regular product that you have to ship, from printing label, managing inventory, managing stock, the looks, the amounts, uh, shipping, payment processing, all that comes essentially bundled there,
Okay.
and you can use it. Uh, it does have the initial visual setup that I said our other websites have. Uh, it might get upgraded in the future. I don't know at the moment. Uh,
Hmm.
However, if you need any mm, sort of selling platform, that would be a good place to start and check it out.
Okay. Yes, I would love to. Yes, definitely.
Jose, if you don't mind, maybe we can stay in touch with you. I mean, um,
Yes, sure.
That's cool. And also if anyone would like to stay in touch with Stefan as well, Stefan, can you just type on Twitter your handle where people can join you?
Uh, sure. My Twitter handle is at
Mm.
okay.
Sure, that way I could send you something more specific and see if okay, there we go.
Perfect.
Let me just check. I want to be double sure.
That's awesome. That's
Uh,
awesome. So, I mean, we're gonna be like closing this meetup very soon because Stefan has a presentation in 10 minutes in London and he's not even there. Okay.
Great.
Uh,
And are you gonna be doing that one of the website builder? Yeah, that's the one.
No, actually, he will be talking about how to save time managing websites. I mean, the actual
Okay.
tools, how those tools work. Just here,
Okay.
I'm just gonna repeat this
Mhm.
link. This is where the event will take place. If you guys want to join us
Okay.
and then learn something more. But thank you all for joining us today. I hope we at least helped someone who is also thinking the same way we are. And this is like how to make money from the tech, right?
That is
And Jose agrees with us. So until further, our next meetup will most probably be next Monday. So if you guys would like to join us, please do so. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you know where to find us. I would like to thank Stefan and Jose. No, I
Oh,
mean,
thank
Jose.
you. No, thank you guys. You're the best.
Yes, thank you both for actually trying to solve some pains and problems that other people have. And I hope we at least contributed to it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.
bye.
Bye bye.